A Chicago suburb is sued for paying reparations to black residents. Let's check this out. It's Ricky Rich with Black Primacy. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your notifications.
A Chicago suburb is facing a lawsuit for paying out reparations to its black residents. Evanston, Illinois became the first municipality in the U.S. to launch a government-funded reparations program. But a conservative group has filed a class action lawsuit claiming the program discriminates against non-black residents.
As always, right? $25,000 in reparations. I'll take it. I'll take it. I will take it. They want to do that in California, I'll take it. It's not doing anything for these residents for sure. I'm sorry. Let's not say it's not doing anything. It's not truly righting wrongs for these residents for sure. But they're definitely, as I've mentioned before, they're definitely going to stomp on anything that's out there to support black citizens. And I've said before, I'm not a fan of reparations in the form of cash, but I wouldn't even bat an eye to this. This will be spent by the end of the year. Hopefully on something positive, but this will be spent by the end of the year. But they're gonna shut it down. They're gonna try and stop any and all success when it comes to righting the country's wrongs, historical wrongs. And so it's just funny to me. It's always the same. I mean, and I guess if it works, then why change it up, right? Like it's always the same reason. Like, oh, it's discriminatory to everyone else. So let's see.
For more on this, let's bring in Emmanuel Felton. He's a race and ethnicity reporter for the Washington Post who has been covering this story. What are the grounds for this lawsuit?
Yeah, so the conservative group Judicial Watch argues that this program discriminates against non-black residents of Evanston. So under Evanston's reparations program, if you lived in the city between 1919 and 1969, or you're the descendant of someone who did, and you're black, you qualify for reparations, because the argument is during those 50 years, Evanston instituted a bunch of racist, segregationist housing policies that deprived wealth from the black residents of town. So they're saying this is our effort to rebuild the wealth that we deprived from you. Whereas Judicial Watch says you have to rebuild the wealth that deprived wealth from the black residents of town.
I'm curious about some math real quick. Hold on.
A bunch of racist, segregationist housing policies. You qualify for 19 and 1969, or you're the descendant of someone who did, and you're in the city between 1919 and 1969, or you're the descendant of someone who did, and you're black.
Sorry, I had to rewind that so I could understand mathematically. They're saying because of segregation that started happening in 1919 and ended in 1969, that $25 today, in today's money, 2024's money, 25,000 is what was lost between those 50 years. I was going to, just now when I heard that, I was like, oh, I'm going to pull up my inflation calculator and we're going to see we don't even need to do that. I know for a fact that the people who were affected between those 50 years in the policies and redlining and everything else lost way more than $25,000 in today's money per individual. Way more. So I just wanted to highlight how small of a, I guess, apology this is in the form of cash, and how small that is, they're trying to cut it down. They're trying to stop it.
You qualify for reparations, because the argument is during those 50 years, Evanston instituted a bunch of racist, segregationist housing policies that deprived wealth from the Black residents of town. So they're saying this is our effort to rebuild the wealth that we deprived from you. Whereas Judicial Watch says you haven't proved exactly who was harmed by these policies. And so by opening it up to all Black residents, you're discriminating against non-Black residents. And this is really part of a larger wave of conservative challenges against programs that came up after George Floyd's murder, right? So we're seeing...
I agree 100%.
You know, with the last year's Supreme Court decision in the affirmative action case, that the courts are very weary of these programs that give benefits to certain ethnic groups. And that's sort of having a clash with all of these programs, both in the government and in private sector. Like, you know, just recently this week, a program that was going to give Black women in Georgia who were starting businesses grants was struck down by an appellate court. So there's sort of a clash.
And we talked about that as well on this channel. I'll link that video in the description, but same thing, same exact results too.
Between, you know, how do we fix our age-old problems of racial discrimination in a way that really satisfies a federal judiciary that's really only interested in race-blind policy?
Do you think the city will fight this all the way? I mean, what are they vowing to do?
That's what they're saying. You know, they refuse to comment for the story, citing pending litigation, but they're saying they vehemently support this program. And they're looking to fight it all the way up. And, you know, it's a program that they're very proud of. Evanston is very proud of being the first in the nation to institute something like this. But when you're the first, you know, you open yourself up to challenges that, you know, hopefully, you know, if you're the second or third, you've learned from what didn't work for the first.
I like that.
The people are at the center of this, who would be the recipients of reparations. What are they telling you about this legal fight?
Yeah, well, you know, it's already happened. So Evanston's already paid nearly 200 people $25,000 each. So this is something that is already changing lives in Evanston. The question is, for all the people who are, so essentially how it worked is they pulled like bingo balls. And so if you were later in the poll, you're...
So that's $5 million that's kicking up all this drama. They're gonna spend another 50 million trying to stop 5 million. But it's worth it to them, right? Because they like you said, they're wanting to set a precedence. They've been trying to set a precedence since the change in the nation after George Floyd.
Like bingo balls. And so if you were later in the poll, you were later in the wait list. So there's still hundreds of people on this wait list. And the question is, what it will mean for them. It's already changed, you know, from the people I've talked to. It's already, I don't know if it's 25,000 has changed their lives as much as it felt like a significant acknowledgement to them of the harm that was really caused here and across the country by housing policy for 50 years that, you know, really deprived Black folks for the ability to build wealth in the same way that white folks were able to with programs like the GI Bill and such.
I got to be real quick with you on this, but do you think other communities are watching what happens here before they institute one of their own reparations programs?
Absolutely. This is something that it's already happening across the country. There are already people trying to institute these programs, and they're going to look to Evanston to see, well, here, what will the courts say here? I mean, we know in California, for instance, they tried to craft a class as they discussed the reparations program that wasn't necessarily race-based, but based on the fact that you were the descendant of a slave or a person who was enslaved in the United States. And so maybe the court will be more friendly on something like that. We just don't know yet.
Okay. Emmanuel Felton, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your reporting.
Yeah, and we talked about that on the channel as well, the California Reparations Task Force. And so it looks like they were kind of already ahead of trying to figure out a way to word it in a way that is not, race based and discriminatory. But I feel like that's probably not going to happen either, right? Just because it's gonna take a lot of back and forth for something to ever happen. And my biggest issue with reparations, especially with small ones like this, and I like what he said. Like he even acknowledged the fact that it's not changing anybody's lives, right? But it is, like I can deal with extra 25K. I'll take that. I wouldn't complain about it. But I just don't want the I don't want these other groups and the country in general, including ourselves, the black community, to actually think that cash, lump sum cash, in any of the amounts that have been discussed is going to be enough to uh, actually make a difference in our make a difference to us economically. It would only be a short term thing, and I don't care if it's 25,000 or $1 million. I think California is talking. I can't remember how much they're talking. $500,000, $1 million. It doesn't matter, right? We need reparations in another form that could actually withstand generations to come. Okay, because cash is not going to do it. We're gonna burn that up. Okay, that like I said, that $25,000 will be gone by the end of the year, and then what? Right? Then what'll happen is the country will be like, oh well, hey, we righted our wrong. We gave every African American citizen $1 million in 2024, and that'll be what they stand on once that money is no longer useful to the community in another 2 years, right? So, it's just there's definitely a lot of work, but I do like what he described here as in terms of we just got to keep putting things out there, trying things, letting it get have it get shut down, and then we'll figure out another way, and over time something will come. And for me, I just hope it's not in the form of cash. I hope it's in some sort of ownership, some sort of legal right to, some asset, right? In the Middle East, there are families, or a lot of families, that have a birthright to oil. And so they will forever be financially taken care of for generations to come. Right. And that's something that, I hope at some point this reparation talk goes into that type of direction. I know the United States in today's state will never allow something like that to happen, but that's where I would like to see reparations be. That's how I would like to see reparations paid out, not in the form of cash. But y'all let me know what y'all think. All right. It's Ricky Rich for Black Primacy. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your notifications.